We think reading great Christian books is vital for spiritual growth. So we are asking significant Christian leaders which 3 books have changed their lives. Christy Wimber has been part of the Vineyard movement since it began. She's an author, speaker and television host. Her latest book is called Transformed.
Yeah, I wrote the book Transformed for a few different reasons. One is I felt the Lord wanted me to write it, and that's really the main reason why hopefully I do what I do. Second of all, I was finding some questions that were continually asked all around the world of people's concerns. And thirdly, I felt like the Lord had given me Romans 12 that sort of broke down all of these questions that I get asked all the time. We've got to break some of the illusions of the celebrity church and this illusion that life is easy and there's quick fixes, quick roads, all that kind of stuff. To be transformed is a journey, and it's a daily decision of turning to the Lord, worshiping the Lord from the place of mercy of what God has done from us, Romans chapter 12. So that's really the reasons why I wrote the book. Yeah, so a couple years ago, I was given the book Emotionally Spiritually Healthy, and it was quite difficult when they gave it to me because it really challenged me in ways that I'd never been challenged before. So I read through it really quick, and then I felt like the Lord said to go back to it, and I literally went back to it twice, read through it, and realized, oh my gosh, there's so many things that I needed to address in my own life for me to become, more healthy as a believer way before I'm a leader. And so it's really taken me through a process of not only recognizing things, as a wife and as a mother, but as a leader to become more healthy so that I can, be healthy for other people as well. Yeah, another book that's been really powerful, I think, in my life is called Life Together by Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who's one of my heroes. It's a really short book, but very profound on life in the church, community in the church, the importance of why we gather, coming from someone that really valued it. It's almost like the Apostle Paul, being in persecution and actually can't wait to be in community because he didn't have it with him. So it's one of those books that I love because one, it's shorter. You can read it really once a year or every few years, and it really does remind us of the power of relationship and the power of community at the church. Yeah, the book Happy Christian's Life by Hannah Whitall Smith. I was actually given that book by my father-in-law. It was his favorite book, and it was written in the late 1800s, and it is a book that is a little bit difficult to read because of the language barrier but very, very, very profound and very solid in the Christian faith, the Christian walk, walking through difficulties, breaking illusions of what it looks like to be a disciple. It's one of those books. In fact, my father-in-law said to me, John Wimber said to me, read this book every year because this will be foundational in just reminding you about the Christian faith, and that was his favorite book. Why I read is, it's a bit funny actually, because for me, I did not like to read that much. So when I became a leader, I realized I've got to invest here a little bit and begin to read some things in particular. And the more that I did it, I didn't really enjoy it at first as much as I thought I would, but the more that I did it, I began to have a hunger for it and a desire for it. And as I began to, kind of venture into other topics and other books and other things, I realized, oh my gosh, there's a lot of smart people out there. And I realized that actually there's so much richness to be learned. But I've also realized that if I'm not learning, that I'm not leading. And so it's very important that I keep learning, I keep reading, I keep investing in the right things, because the things that are feeding me are feeding the people around me. So it's very important, I think.
So here are 3 new books you really ought to know about. The first is by a friend of mine, Tim Chaddick. It's called The Truth About Lies, The Unlikely Role of Temptation in Who You Will Become. Tim does a great job of helping us understand that the trials and temptations in our life don't just need to be seen as negatives, but opportunities to prove our faithfulness to God. It's a really short book, but a really engaging read. The second is not a new book, it's the Bible, but it's a new format. It's called The Journaling Bible for Colouring In. I must admit I was a bit sceptical about the idea of this, but actually this is a beautifully produced book that will help you process scripture if you're a visual thinker. If you like to doodle and sketch, here's a great book to do it in. Many members of my family have found it very useful. I know it'll make a great gift for someone that you love. The third book is a big book. It's called Transcending Mission, The Eclipse of a Modern Tradition by Michael Stroop. And this is a controversial book. Stroop argues that we might have over-egged the way that we understand mission and its role in our interpretation of Scripture. It's a challenging book. I don't agree with all of its conclusions, but I think Stroop asks some important questions that all of us that are leaders and are missionary in our thinking need to engage with. So Transcending Mission, a really worthwhile read. Thanks for listening.